Hey, everybody. I just saw Daryl posted. He was like, a change in music. Dude, so we're trying a different thing again. We're kind of always, tweaking crap. But Daryl, I don't know if you saw Restream Studio has like a 2.0 right now. And there's the ability to build scenes out. So the one of them is a countdown scene, and that's what we use today, like auto switches to the other scene. You can have layouts like attached to the scene and just switch through them. The challenge that I'm having is it doesn't it only has like a list of like 5 or 6 songs that you can do. So I picked one of them. There's none that are like upbeat like that. So but thanks for that feedback, Daryl. We may go back to something a little bit more lively because yeah, that was kind of just too like, environmental, just
We were in the
nebulous.
sauna, like waiting for our spa day to begin. Like
Right.
we need some energy, like and that didn't bring it. So
Yeah.
let's interject a little bit of energy into this. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to 365 Deep Dive. He's John. I'm Andy. You're all here. We got a great episode for you today. This one's gonna be a behind the scenes deep dive into how we
Mhm.
build 365 deep dive. Lots of changes, as John mentioned. We are experimenting with some of the new features in Restream. I'm
Mhm.
playing with some different camera angles and moving the office around a little bit. That's been kind of fun. John's got some new glasses, and they're very fitting
I do.
because they are very meta, as we're doing a meta demonstration about how we build this show. So lots of changes all
Yeah.
around. So this one should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the show started. I got the Meta Ray-Ban Wayfarer glasses this week. I got them a week ago because like I needed to update my glasses because I got a new prescription, stuff like that. And I realized with my insurance and everything that the Meta ones were only like $40 more than my other glasses cost. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's dive into this. I don't my hesitation is that it's meta, so like the privacy concerns about that and stuff like that. But I'm really, really liking them. I've had them for a week now. I got the transition lenses, so like they automatically switch to sunglasses outside, switch back to clear inside. I love the speakers and the cameras in it because like just running around with my kids, I can just quickly like hit the button on there and take a picture, like some more, just capturing moments without getting my phone out and digging for my phone. I went fishing last week and it was great. Like I had, fishy hands. You catch a fish and you're holding it, you can just say like the wake word and say, take a picture. And I don't have to like touch my phone with like gross hands. So I'm digging them. They're really cool. But yeah, enough about that geeky stuff. As Andy said, we are wanting to like look inward this month and talk about our process, talk about how we do 365 deep dive because we've been doing this now for going on 3 years, right? Has it been 3 years yet?
Yeah.
Or it'll be 3 later on this year. So we've done a lot of these and we kind of haven't really like set down our standard operating procedures for how we do this show. It has borne out of like, hey, we want to just talk about whatever we're interested in and just deep dive on it, and talk about it for as long as it takes, experiment with it, kick the tires, see if we can break it. And that's kind of been the style of like what this has become is hands-on, let's just see where it goes type of a thing. And over the course of like, building an audience and getting more people watching, some of our experiments have kind of fragmented out our audience a little bit, right? Where, we're live on my channel, we're live on Andy's channel, we're live on LinkedIn. There's kind of like different pockets of people. So we decided a couple months ago that we want to consolidate things and we want to be a little bit more, strategic in how we do the show and we publish things, where we're going to go live on our LinkedIn page. So we started one of those LinkedIn company pages, and our shared channel called 365 Deep Dive. So that's the place that it's going to be live. And then we thought, okay, not everybody wants to watch like a 2-hour episode of us just tinkering with stuff. But like there comes times where it's like there's a really good segment that maybe we want to kind of pluck out and have that be standalone. So we thought, well, okay, let's do the central channel, and then where it's something that is shared, we will publish like a recap or a short video of a segment of the show where it's like equally, both of us talking about something. But if Andy goes off on a wild idea, or I go off on a wild idea for like 5 minutes and talk about something like, monologue for a while, let's take that and let's put that on our own channels. That way we kind of spread the content around and do that. And we quickly have realized that, it's really easy to like step on each other's channel and like kind of muddy the waters and all that. So, we need to figure out a way to collaborate together and have like a very smooth process. And that's what we wanted this show to be, is let's figure out our process. Let's talk about our challenges out in the open with you guys who are watching, so that we can talk about our ideas and also get ideas from you for like, how could we do this or that better? And like, how can we, make it so that it's more beneficial to all of you guys who are watching as well. So that's a pretty big intro. We don't have any like slides to show this time, or any kind of like headers, but in the spirit of being very meta, I'm going to share my screen now. I've got a loop component, and we're going to start by showing what our structure looks like while we're live. We build out these show notes, and our show notes for this time are going to be the structure of what we want to talk about today. So does that sound pretty good, Andy?
Oh yeah. Yep.
All
Also,
right,
like
to make this bigger so it's easier to read.
just to add a little bit to like what John's saying there, as part of
Mhm.
like trying to like figure all this out, we had to streamline our workflow, because we had different pockets of conversation going on between some private messages on Twitter, some text messaging, just back and forth, and then
Mhm.
working across a couple of Microsoft tenants. And I heard a phrase earlier this week, and I think it definitely applies here: tenantitis. We have tenantitis. We have to pick one place to like work, one solid central workspace. And so we thought this would be a really good time to kind of bring
Mhm.
everything together. And as we're building it, we thought it'd be really cool to kind of share what we're actually building all along the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So I'm not going to cover these attributes yet. We're going to talk about that as we get into like the collaboration side. But this is the structure of what we want to talk about today. We want to talk a little bit, like I kind of went through the backstory, the history of how we, got together and started doing this. And then it's created some challenges in working together. Then we want to talk about just actually building this thing out. And we're going to focus mostly on Microsoft Loop as well as Microsoft Lists, and talk about, processing our episodes so that we can do those like cut ups, so that we can get information out that's not buried in a 2-hour webinar or 2-hour live stream, but it's like more like, hey, here's a highlight and here's a highlight. So it's maybe a little bit better. So yeah, with that, the backstory of us working together is I was doing my own channel since like I think 2018, 2019, just kind of, I've always been where I don't make videos like solely where it's like something that I don't necessarily know yet, and I like need to set out and research and try to play the algorithm and do stuff like that. The way that like I've always been creating videos is, if I've got something that I'm already doing that is already helpful for me, I want to share it out, right? So A lot of that has been like, hey, here's my tip for Microsoft Teams. Here's something that like I use every day that some people may not know about. And those have kind of been like my shorter, on demand, regular, just YouTube videos. And then I started kind of getting into like wanting to tinker a little bit. I'm always a guy who's like messing around with stuff and tinkering. And it started out with like, all right, I want to play with like Raspberry Pi a little bit and try to figure out like multi-streaming, not paying Restream for their service, but just doing it on my own. And I thought like, okay, I don't know how to do this. Why don't I just do it live and see if anybody's interested in watching that? And Andy found that. And then Andy reached out to me, and we'd never talked before, to say, hey, I really like that format. It was really fun to kind of just watch you like discover, and learn and fail and learn and then succeed. Why don't we try that with some 365 stuff that like neither of us really necessarily know much about the thing we're going to talk about, but let's all learn together. So we started with webinars, right?
Yeah, Teams webinars.
Yeah, so we started out and it was like, okay, there's this brand new thing called Teams webinars. Let's just try it out and see where the buttons take us, right? And it's been a lot of fun. Like it really keeps me learning because as an architect, a lot of times I do a lot of like strategy and kind of like consultation and like, oh, what we should do is this, or have we thought about this other idea? And I kind of ideate a lot, but I don't necessarily get hands-on and tinker quite as much. So this is like that creative outlet for me to like actually learn how things really work rather than theoretically how they should work according to documentation or whatever. But yeah, so that brings us here to our current challenges, which, one of the challenges that we've got here, hopefully you guys can read this. Let me know in the comments if it's too small still. But one of them is communication. You want to talk about that one first, Andy?
Yeah,
of like something we're struggling with.
Yeah, just kind of going back to what I said a minute ago, like our initial communication was initially all through Twitter, because you were doing YouTube, but we had we connected through Twitter, and we just started communicating back and forth through there. Twitter has gone through its up and downs over the last few years. So we've communicated there. We've communicated LinkedIn. Now communicating through text messaging as well as email, but also through various Microsoft tenants that we are mutually a part of. And so like as we're doing this and like working through the show, communication's been like here, there, and everywhere. And I think a lot of people that we collaborate with and a lot of people in the enterprises that we work with kind of feel the same way. You kind of have to figure out like a central form of communication. So finding a thought that we've shared has been challenging sometimes, to say the least, because search doesn't work across all of those different silos. And so that one's been kind of interesting.
So I blame this on Elon Musk, basically. Like we were talking over Twitter. We were always just talking over Twitter for a couple of years. We've got a shared kind of like geek out DM group with me, you, Alistair, and Daryl. And then Elon Musk came in and messed all of it up. People started like jumping ship from the platform. I spend less time on the platform because it's not as valuable to me anymore. And now it's like, I think let's list out the ways that we communicate today. Yeah. We do X, right? So DMs on X. We do text messaging, because like we texted each other like after a couple years. We had never even exchanged phone numbers. And then whenever like everything with Twitter happened, you DM'd me one time or like, hey, here's my phone number in case like this whole thing just goes down, right? So we do that. We also like message each other on LinkedIn with private messages. We tried to create a Discord channel at one point, but we don't do anything with that really.
Yeah, we just haven't opened it up.
Yeah, we have like a Discord thing. We talk on Microsoft Teams, and there's like Daryl said, tenantitis, because we could talk to each other in the Microsoft tenant. We've got my tenant. We've got our own work tenants. We've got like 8 different ways we could talk on Microsoft Teams. Text messaging. We Reddit. We send DMs through Reddit sometimes.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like depends on like Uh, I think what it is really is if I'm on Reddit and I see something interesting and I want to send you, I'll just like hit the share and then send it to you
Yeah.
through Reddit. And that's on that platform. If it is, it feels like during the workday, we talk over Twitter the most because like that's me, you, Daryl, and Al. We kind of all talk together through that. And it seems like that's mostly during work hours. After work hours, it seems like we text a lot because like I'm just on my phone, and it's a little bit easier that way. Yeah, Daryl, I hope this is resonating with like most people who will be watching this even after the fact that like we're a bunch of MVPs and we haven't figured this crap out. So like I think it's kind of nice to just let's air it out and let's just talk about the struggles and see if we can like come up with ideas to make everything better. But
And the communication piece of this is like really, we just needed to streamline essentially based off of the workflow one platform, and we would just want to kind of narrow down the
Mhm.
conversation from that. And even outside of like all the social media channels and interaction, for a while now, when John and I planned this show, it's been through Notion, and so we communicate and build some of our show notes and things like that through Notion. That's been the tool that we've used as we
Mhm.
waited on Loop to mature, and now we're making that transition over. But even just using that is just another silo that sits side by side with some of the other different ways that we needed to communicate. So
Mhm.
finding a central channel for this workflow that we're working on was really important to us. With that, as
Yeah.
the John jots down all the different platforms that we've got, we thought it would be good to come up with some like standard operating procedures. Who's working on what at any given time so that we can do
Mhm.
things like advertise our shows with a little bit more of a runway, to have a couple of ideas in the queue as we're doing our day jobs, because we do this on the side as a learning activity,
Mhm.
as a collaborative activity, you know, as a community driven event. And so trying to like figure out kind of like how to fit this into our workflow and our lives, we needed to kind of standardize it. And as John's got on the screen there, just chopping it up into like some bite sized pieces and chunks, and getting it into like one ecosystem helps with that, because we're not as fragmented anymore. Or for some of the things that we're doing, like streamlining into a Microsoft one tenant, has definitely helped us to minimize some of the context friction and to put this into some smaller bite-sized pieces so that we can do a few of these things all along the way. It also helps us with
Mhm.
where to store this stuff because I had some in my tenant, John had some in his tenant. John's had a couple of switches of tenants. We've gotten
Yeah.
developer tenants from like Microsoft, and like even having some things like stored over in Notion. Like, we've got all these different silos, and so we needed to kind of like bring it
Mhm.
all together into one place to kind of make it a little bit easier for us to be able to share not only content, um, thumbnails, the videos that we're working on, the publishing of that content, keeping our social media campaign information kind of centralized in one place, so we're not
Mhm.
redundant in like advertising and pushing out shows. And then I think another really big one and a key one for us was we really wanted to dog food Microsoft 365. The show's
Mhm.
called 365 Deep Dive because that's what we do in our day jobs. We work in the system all day, every day, and there's a ton of value with it. But I think one of the things that we've tried to do is we've been doing this for the last few years is to minimize our cost, the cost out of
Mhm.
pocket to do some of this. We pay for a lot of different services that we might only use for this, or we might reuse for a couple of different things, but we wanted to kind of
Mhm.
minimize the cost as much as we could. And we thought this would be a good opportunity to show how we can pay one fee with Microsoft 365 and get a whole bunch of apps and services from that one fee versus having a
Mhm.
bunch of different fragmented apps and services, or maybe some loose integration between those apps and services, but have different billing models between all of them. We thought it'd be a really good opportunity to kind of showcase the power of Microsoft 365 and what you can really do with it as you kind of put your mind to it. And one of the things that's kind of like worked its way into our channel over the last while is this thing called Jolly Roger Java. This started off as
Mhm.
like a one-off demo at a conference that I did. But it's been something kind of percolating in the back of my head is like a business case is just kind of approachable for a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
we had the idea that like we could showcase how businesses of all sizes, whether it's an enterprise or a small mom and pop just kind of getting started, a local coffee
Mm-hmm.
shop, for instance, can use kind of this platform to do some really powerful things. Like once you understand that it's greater than the sum of the parts. So we really wanted to dog food 365 and really show what you can build with it. And we thought this episode would be a great way to kind of kick that off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the other things that we wanted to talk about as well today are chopping up that content into bite-sized pieces. That'll get into hands-on like processing and process workflow and things like that. Like you said, not stepping on each other with like publishing things, talking about editorial calendaring. And then yeah, that Jolly Roger Java, we want to talk about like that safe demo environment. The two big goals with that or challenges that we have is, as an MVP, it's good to have a demo environment that isn't in NDA, it isn't any early rings of anything, because like you don't want to accidentally show something NDA, obviously. And we can't use like our work stuff because you don't want to, accidentally show like a coworker's name or their information or some project you're working on that shouldn't be public. So it's like that stuff has to be sequestered out separately. And that leads, like you said, to ballooning costs, right? I think we sat down a couple weeks ago and we made a table of what all we're paying for individually, and we're up to like between $2,000 and $3,000 a year that we spend on like all of our stuff for MVP stuff. So
We
I
do
think
this all for
consolidating some of
you.
that.
Everybody that's joining in
Yeah,
live, that participates every month, that watches this on the repeat, we do it all for you.
yeah. So it's good. It's it's career advancements, professional development. We're learning from these environments, but you got to pay for it, right? So figuring out like where to strategically put our efforts and put our investments, I think is really going to be beneficial. And like Daryl said, it takes a lot of time to build a good environment, right? So like if we're going to put that effort into something, we want to like keep it going and actually have it be very useful. So getting into that a little bit, why don't we tackle the first thing, which is kind of comms plan, Andy?
Yeah.
So while we were talking, I listed out the different communication platforms that we use and kind of like what we use them for, right? So do you agree with this? Like Twitter and X, that kind of is like sharing, chatting with friends, we have like
Yeah.
DMs. I never post on Twitter really anymore. And I don't really like read Twitter anymore. I don't know if you're that way. Like you seem to find stuff on Twitter because you send me things every once in a while.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing that Twitter does that no other social media platform does really well is the ability to create lists and take all of the people that you follow and all the topics that you're interested in and kind of put it into like one place, so you can really just scope it down to like what's important. So like I have a couple of different lists that I follow. I think I've shared the apps list with like you and Daryl and a few others about some of the apps that like I'm interested in and the updates there. There's a creators list that I've created for like different YouTube creators and other creators that like I'm interested in. I think I've shared that with you guys as well. And then I have a bunch of like personal lists that I use. So typically if I share something out from there, it's because it's from one of those lists. And that's for me, that's the one feature that I find a ton of value in. That being said, I don't post quite as much on there anymore because I don't see as much interactivity and as much like interaction as I did maybe a few years ago.
Yeah,
I
it's a lot
post
of
a
the
lot
people
more
I
on
got things
LinkedIn.
from the most. They're like on Threads or Mastodon or LinkedIn. I think a lot of in365 people went mostly to LinkedIn. That's
That's where I
kind of where
spend
we
most of
went.
my time now, and I get a lot more engagement there. I
hmm
also get, a ton of sales pitches over there as well. So you have
Yeah.
to, it's a different kind of noise that you have to deal with. But I see a lot more interaction and engagement through LinkedIn. So I post a lot more over there. And with some of the 365 deep dive stuff, we did create like kind of the business page over there, and that's something that we're working on getting off the ground. But it made a lot of sense because it gives us a way to post upcoming events. We can both manage it. It's kind of its own standalone thing, so people can seek that out if they're on LinkedIn. We can run events through it if we need to, and we can turn it into essentially like a community that's really easy for a lot of people to engage. Versus like if we were to create a Discord, there's the whole learning curve with getting started with Discord, and that's just kind of creates another silo.
Yeah. So like if I look across all these different platforms, there's some like they're shared use cases, right? Like I think, LinkedIn, you can knock that off the list because we just don't really message each other that much on LinkedIn. Usually that's like somebody random reaches out to one of us on LinkedIn and we bring the other person in, like, oh yeah, we'll come talk to your product team, or, like somebody asks our opinion on something. So we'll like add each other, but we don't really talk to each other that much. Same with like Discord. Like we kind of made the Discord channel, but we didn't really do anything with it.
We haven't opened it up or advertised it to anybody. Like we have a 365 deep dive Discord out there, but that was like for us to kind of get started and learning with it. And then I think we both took a segue with that with Midjourney as we were learning Midjourney, and then like created our own Discord and started working with the Midjourney bot there. So for me, Discord's all about image generation.
So like some of the duplicate stuff is like, sharing like funny stuff on Reddit, on Twitter, and through texting, that's kind of duplicate. Working on the show, it seems like we mostly do that through texting. We could probably move a lot of those things to like Microsoft Teams, right? And we'll talk about like our team structure. Probably next would be to show the channel structure, because what I'm wondering is, would a lot of these things like just general chit chat, sharing like, oh my gosh, check out this crazy video, stuff like that. That kind of seems like it could be like the general channel, right? And then like show planning could be like the show planning channel, and things like that. But
then there's also keep in mind, there's the fun, and then there's the get stuff done. And sometimes the fun stuff is just easier to text that and, kind of keep it like lightweight over there versus like, hey, we need to do the show planning over here. So like also me personally, I don't want to spend all day every day in Microsoft Teams. We do enough of that like day to day. So getting out of that bubble. And,
I know as much as Microsoft's like trying to do Teams personal, like I honestly don't use Teams personal. I've got an account, but I don't ever use it.
I'm not going to be able to get friends and family on board with that platform either.
To be fair, I'm also not like a WhatsApp user like the rest of the world is, So, but to show a little bit of what we actually are looking at here, we've got a team, and we're going to create the plan is to create a new tenant and get like a centralized tenant called 365 Deep Dive. We already bought the domain, so don't try to go buy the domain. And the idea is to create that, have that be where both of us have our accounts there and can actually like do work inside of it. Because today we're doing this in my tenant, which is called Collabmore. And then I invited Andy, I gave him a license in it so that he could log in. And he's also got guest access through his other like, MVP accounts and stuff. But I think we're going to lift and shift this whole 365 Deep Dive team over to that other one. It can stay out of tap, like this is in tap right now. The other one won't ever be in tap or anything like that. And that way we have some safety as well. Yeah. But what we've got so far is we've got just the general channel, because every team gets a general channel. And
we can hide it now.
That's true. Yeah. So we can actually like, hide that and not use it, because like you said, I just don't see us like really doing chit chat sharing stuff in a general channel, because it's just two of us,
Most of our conversation is going to happen in the purpose driven channels that we have out there. And we already have a lot of that kind of going on, so that we streamline all the communication around our show planning into one place, and we don't have to dig through all of our separate DMs and text messages in order to find it.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think then it's the idea of like, this is going to be like to get things done, right? Which is working on past episodes. That's going to be our channel for chopping up the old episodes, getting them like the highlights basically, and publishing those out for people who want shorter form content, and then planning the shows, the long form, once a month, 2-hour live streams, which we've already been doing. And we've traditionally done that in Notion, but we're looking to shift over potentially to using Microsoft Loop for that. So you'll see here what I've done is I've basically posted a Loop component to say like, all right, guys, let's start talking about the April show. Hey, it's March. Let's talk about the March show. And that way I'm lifting it out of a workspace, plugging it into this Teams channel so that we could like reply and do stuff like that. But honestly, I feel like Loop is getting better and better to be able to be that kind of like use it standalone solution. And that's what we've stood up here that I think we would recreate over in our main new dog fooding area. I know, right? I'm just getting Daryl like hyped up. But what we've got here is kind of three main things. There's like the links, right? Which is like, oh, just our YouTube channel, our Twitter account, like the stuff that we've got like that's shared. But the two main things we do when we're working on 365 Deep Dive is planning out shows. This is the monthly plan. And then Andy and I, we meet weekly to talk about what are we working on, you know, if we're doing any, if we've got any like, you know, conference speaking coming up, like Teams Nation, something like that. Then we kind of like work on our slides together on that time. We talk about like what the next shows are going to be about. So it's like weekly syncs and then like show planning. And show planning, you've seen a preview of this with the notes right here. This is kind of what we do whenever we are going to start a new month and look a month ahead. We usually do this like the second week of the month, and we're like, oh crap, we need to like come up with something to talk about. We're going to get a little bit more like future facing and plan like 3 months out in advance. But I've got a template here that I created, Andy, over the week, which is some attributes, right? Like we always have to like land on what we're going to talk about. So we've got a topic that's a call out with a little icon because it's a light bulb. You know, here's the idea. The title, which is going to be the title for LinkedIn, the title for YouTube, when we're going to do it. So we like know what date is like the actual live stream. So that's today. Then you got to have a description, right? Whenever you schedule something on YouTube and LinkedIn, you got to have a description, good for like search engine optimization. You've got to have a thumbnail, you know, because you have to post that with YouTube. The links, we do YouTube and LinkedIn, which that's starting in July, right? That's what we decided is starting in July, we're going to start going like, we're only going to live stream on the 365 Deep Dive channel and LinkedIn, those two places only, so that we don't have a lot of scattered chat. You know, and it makes it easier to like mention people, things like that during the live show. So we'll be going from like what, probably 5 places down to 2 at that point. And I know Daryl said that he's got some opinions about the whole multi-streaming idea. I don't know, Daryl, if that's the same takeaway you've gotten from like the Message Center show, is like you guys, you and Daniel have kind of condensed down to like a concerted effort. You've had to rebuild, you know, to go off of like your personal channels to like, no, this is like the brand channel. But it looks like you guys are talking about word comments and stuff. But I think we're going to post like our 2 links there. That way we can get back to it, because something that if you're not a Microsoft MVP that you might not know about is, so Microsoft MVPs, we go through renewal every year. And you know, once you get it, once you're like become an MVP, you're not in, you know, you're not like in this club that never goes away. Like you keep trying to contribute as much as you can. And it's not about necessarily keeping the MVP status. It's about keeping contributing to the community and like giving things out there. Like, this is helpful. I want to help people, not I want to maintain my MVP. I want to use my status that I've got to help, you know, like help more people if I can. So one of the things that we do with that renewal is we have to say like, what we've done in the past year. Hey, I spoke at these sessions, I did these videos, I was on these podcasts, whatever. And you go through and you share that video link, or you share that blog post you did, something like that. So this helps us with our renewal time frame when we have to look back and share with the community managers at Microsoft where our stuff is, so that they can like see it. So we have a link back to what we did, so that we can easily like share that with people. And then our notes really is like, what do we want to talk about? We don't script our shows. We kind of do just like a rough outline, and then we meander through the outline basically. And then there's always a shared like to-do list that we have, which is like, hey, we need to make the title, we need to make the thumbnail, we need to come up with a description. We've got all these things that we need to do. So what I did, Andy, is I saved this since we talked last. I created one just called shows. And then I created this as like an empty template, so that we could hit Control A or Command A and copy that into a new sub page for the month. So if we look at May, I copied that in there. We've got our topic today is we're going to talk about building the show and, processing our recaps and stuff like that. We're doing it today. We created this description, right? So that's what I pasted into YouTube and LinkedIn through Restream to schedule the show. We created a thumbnail. So I've got the thumbnail stored so that we know where it's at. If something catastrophic happened and we needed to like remake the show, we have the thumbnail from back then. We've got the links to the show, which is there's our YouTube link and our LinkedIn link, which is on Andy's LinkedIn page. And then this is those show notes that we talked about. This is what we do during our weekly meeting. And then this is that to-do list, right? So we come up with a show title, a description, and a thumbnail. Once you have those three things, then you can schedule your live event, right? So there's a little bit of inside baseball for like, if you're looking at starting your own show, we welcome you. I would love to share what you want to do in the community. But like, you got to create these things in order to publish something. So we create those together, and then we use Restream for our streaming platform. And what I do is I go in, I schedule that. We're in a team together, so either one of us could schedule it, but I paste in those assets and then I schedule it for that time. So we got to check that off the list. And then me and Andy, we split up and we do like social media posts to promote the upcoming show. Like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. Here's kind of why we picked this topic, stuff like that. Andy does like 20 times more of that than I do. I usually like reshare whatever he posts because like I'm just really bad at social media right now for some reason. But we post up until the day of the live event, and that's kind of our structure. So you can see for April, we did the same thing last month. We were going to talk about prompt engineering. We've got, here's what we're going to talk about during this live stream. Again, our thumbnail. And then the notes for this one were super, super long. I think I lost my paste in there. But like, it was like, here's all the different prompts we're going to talk about, and go through just a crash course in prompt engineering. And Andy, I was thinking one thing that we have in Notion that we don't have in Loop is the concept of a database, right? So one thing I like about Notion is that it's got the idea of creating a database, and each item on the database is its own page, right? So we're not recreating that here because we don't have a concept of databases. Instead, I did sub pages, and one of the things I was missing was like the status of it, right? Is it in planning? Is it upcoming? Is it published currently? So I was thinking like one idea we could do is we could use the icons, because like there's a page icon. So I made this one is done, right? So it's the checkbox. This is the one that it's scheduled. So it's like the currently on the block. This is what we're going to do. And then an upcoming one is kind of still in ideation phase. So let's use a light bulb.
I like it. That's
You
a
like that?
really clever way to identify the status field in there. I think that's really good.
Awesome. I see Daryl has a solution incoming. So maybe he's got an idea for like how we could, rather than using like pages and subpages, maybe we could get to something that's a little bit more browsable, like
While
a
we're waiting
database.
on possibly Daryl to share his solution, I want to point out a couple of things around, like, as we're transitioning off of Notion into Loop. What you don't see right now is that we both have not only the Restream broadcast up in front of us, where we can see people that are like chiming in with comments, and we can bring those up on the screen when we need it. But like me, I'm monitoring the LinkedIn comments, the Twitter engagement, and also the 365 Deep Dive YouTube channel, and seeing what's happening over there. But I've also got our show notes up on the side. And that section with the notes, that's our checklist as we're actually going through the show. And so like we might both be in there at the same time, checking an item off as we move on to like the next one. But it's really lightweight, and like it just can live off to the side of the whatever like we're monitoring. But it's also really handy because in both the case of Notion and Loop is that like we can access this on mobile. So like if we get an idea while we're out and about, it's super easy to pull up, throw it in the list, and then just go back to whatever we were doing before. We can bring this up now when we're meeting in Teams, and we still have a very definitive use case for Teams and SharePoint that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. Loop can help sit in with that content in SharePoint and Teams, so that we do minimize some of that context switching. But the flexibility of this type of notebook workspace is really helpful because it meets us wherever we happen to be, if we're in the course of a live stream, or we're out and about, or we're actually doing like our planning. And to be able to kind of structure it and template it, there's a lot of similarities between the two. There's a few things that are a little bit different, some things that we have to change about your workflow. There's some things you kind of have to unlearn as you move from like one to the other. And there's a great question out there: can it replace Notion? Depends on your use case. Depends on what you're trying to do with it. There's some things that are definitely a little different, and it just takes a little time, I think, to adjust. But I just wanted to mention that as far as the transition has been pretty seamless, I think, for us. There's just been a few things we had to kind of unlearn, but that's muscle memory.
So here's Daryl's suggestion for like recreating the idea of databases. Like, because one of the only reasons we use a database in Notion for this particular instance, I use databases elsewhere because I can get different views and I can do like other things. But just for this thing, it's that like I've got a list of shows. Each show is a page. He's got a pretty interesting idea where he says like, all right, just add a table and then add a link to the page. And you're kind of getting that same thing. So let's try that real quick. So here in Notion, I'm going to hide the comment. In Notion at the bottom, I'm going to hit that / command.
You mean,
and then I'm going to, in Loop. Oh my gosh. In Loop, I'm going to do the / command, and I'm going to add that table that Daryl was talking about doing. And what we'll do is we'll have this be our list of shows. So what we'll do is we'll have this be the show, and then let's add, because I can copy the link to this page. So share page link. And that's going to come up here in a second. Oh, I have to allow. There we go. So I'll do that, and we'll have it be like May 2024, right? And then for this one, I'm going to hit Command K, which is to bring up a hyperlink, and we're going to insert that. And then, I'm going to do the same thing for like this share page link. And then we're going to do April 2024. And I'm going to add that one. So essentially, now you've got the show. You click on it, it jumps to that page. And then you can go back to the shows. That does work for me, because then what we could have is we could have like this could be like the publish date, right? And I think what I would do is like change that column to like a date, published, and then we could add another column here and have it be like the other attributes, right? So like YouTube link, some of these other ones. I think another thing that I like doing is like tags, which in there we would do as change this to a label, and then we could add a new label group and have it just be like open-ended tags, and that's things like Copilot, PKM, right? Personal knowledge management, productivity, some of the things that we talk about the most, like Loop, Teams, live events, right? So because of that, I could tag the shows like May. This is like about show planning. So it's a little bit about, we're talking about Loop today. We're talking about Teams. So actually, I guess that's got a label. And I don't think I can change that to have you like add multiples, can I? So I guess that there's a kind of a bummer, right? I don't know, Daryl, if you can make it to where you can add more than one tag to something. But it looks like so we have to like declare that like this is just about Copilot. This one's just about PKM or whatever.
And this is why we learn out loud. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Hey,
so like this one's published today. The
Daryl
one in
mentioned
April.
something that we should bring up. So go back to the table. We'll clear out the February one.
Okay.
And go back and just go to the cell for February, the February show.
Okay. So like
just
this one.
do a / in there,
and
then just start typing in February.
Oh, okay,
Bam.
cool. So awesome. That saves a lot of clicks, Daryl.
Yep.
Thank you. So there's a trick. If you / you can start typing a page in it, and it references that page or it backlinks it, which actually, you know what? That added this little detail view like caret, and it opened it up in that's very Notion-y, because it opened up in like the peak view, or the center view.
All right. So question out loud. One of the things that we really liked in Notion was the fact that from a database, you could create a new page and then have a template associated with it. Daryl, is there something similar where we could add like a new month to this list and then have it create a new page, subpage in there?
I have seen where I can save a page as a template, but when I was testing that out, it wasn't working. You could use a text column for the tags, then use / to add multiple labels. Okay. So let's do that. I'm going to put his comment on screen because we're just playing right now. So he's saying go in here if you want to have multiple tags, change the column type to text. Yes, proceed. And then I'm going to clear out these columns. And then you're going to just use the / command to add a label, because a label is a type of component you could put in. So I would do a label, which is Copilot, and then I would do a label, which is like Teams. Oh, wait. So you have to type the word label, and then you could select Teams.
Okay.
So that works, and today we're also talking about like Loop, right? So label, Loop. So I select Loop. So I'm tagged with 3 things. Okay, I like that. That's pretty good. Now I can sort by that, but I can't filter by it looks like. So that would be another thing that I'm kind of missing, is like being able to select like Copilot and see all the ones that are listed with Copilot, But we usually use tags to just kind of say like, hey man, we've been talking about like Copilot for like months on end. Let's talk about something else just to switch it up a little bit. That's what we use our tags for and our labels. But dude, I really like that little like opener right here, that it added a little switch. Actually, you know what? That didn't do that. That added a notes and related content. This is the object in the table. You see that?
Yeah.
So that's not the page itself. That's the, So I wonder then if we could like just take this whole thing. I copied all this text. I'm wondering like why have it be a page if instead you could just throw it in here? Which it didn't work. Oh, so I'm limited in the type of things I can put in here. So like I couldn't do a call out. That's not available in this like little notes area. Hmm. I can add another fields. That would be another column in there.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, so I couldn't do everything that I could do in a column or in a page. Okay, so yeah, not quite. And backlinking, so like doing double carrots, that's not the backlinking command like it is in Notion. Okay, he said something about filters up here. Filter is over on the left. Oh yeah, it is. So that's the sort, but filters right next to it. So I would be able to say like, all right, I only want to see things that like contain Copilot, right? And then it only shows that one. So yeah, you build the filter that way. Okay, so filtering is at the top of the table. And I can take that sort away as well if I wanted to. Okay, what other types of columns can we have here? Text, number, date, person, vote, or label. So I think we would just paste in then the YouTube link. So like here is the YouTube link for this show is right here. Copy that link. And then we're going to put that right here. And there's the link to the YouTube video when we're filling out our, contributions for MVP stuff. See, March was March 22nd. So I can go up in time, select March 22nd. Our February show was published on the 23rd of February. So that was like 223. I guess I can't type. I have to scroll to it. 223. So I like that. And then what I would do is I would then sort this one by descending. So the newest show is up at the top, sort it by the published date, and kind of do it that way. But yeah, we're kind of getting somewhere. You could also have a label in here that is like a status, right? And then that would be like if it's like planning, scheduled, and then like done, right? And then when you do that, then you could have a board view in there. So like if I add a label to here, then I would say like status, right? And then I would change that to a label and I would have it be like this progress one. And it would be like, so this one here is in progress. This one is completed. This other one's completed, and this other one is completed. But like, if I add a new show up here for like June 2024, and then another new show for like July 2024, and those dates are going to be on. Let's just select it. So June is next month. We usually do like either the third or the fourth Friday of the month. Let's just say the 28th. And then July, we would do that, in like late July. And then we have to, resort this by the published date and descending. That's the way I like it, so that the new stuff's at the top. So these ones would be like not started yet, right? But what's nice is once you add a label, then you get this board view right here. So now we can see what's done, what's like, happening right now, and then what's coming up later, June and July. So I like that. I think that's pretty good.
And don't forget the navigation on the left. You can collapse that down so you can pay more attention to like the board view in the center.
That's true. Yeah, you can make that bigger. So I like this about, do I want to view it as like a list, or do I want to view it as like what needs to be done and like the statuses? So I really like that as well. So that's kind of building, our show list out like that. Any other thoughts about this, about like the loop page and like kind of rolling it up into shows? I guess the last thing I was thinking is, should we copy all of this stuff right here and make this into a template? So like I can do new thing, and I would say like show template, do it like that. And then what I found was you can do, under the ... dots, you can do save page as template. Problem is it was erroring out for me yesterday. Okay, so this is a show template. We're going to start out with the ideation phase, right? So it starts out as a light bulb. And then we're going to say like month, right? Because that's like what you're going to type in. Got the title, all that stuff. You've got your, I would want to do like a preloaded like task list in here, which I want to get rid of this this title so that it's just kind of like a little bit smaller. Yeah, like that. So it's like you got to come up with a title, you got to come up with a description, a thumbnail, a schedule and restream, and then you got to do LinkedIn posts, right? So save as template. Okay, saved as the template. So now if I go in here under new subpage along the bottom, okay, I'm not seeing my template. Under template gallery though, I could say this is a show template. That did not save correctly. You see that? But that would apply that template. That's interesting because yeah, it like lost all of this part right here. Let's try that again because I might have, just had like a little quirk because I was like adding things as I was saving it. So save page as a template. We're going to go with the light bulb. We're going to hit save as template. Failed. I'm going to call this new show instead, and then do that. Got all these elements here. Save as a template. Okay, so that's saved as a template called new show. So now if I blow this away, delete this, and then under shows, I could also now delete all of this stuff. And now all we've got is our table, our lovely table of shows. Let's clean this up here. Okay, so now I go new subpage, and I don't want to use a blank template. I want to use my new show template, which is right here. Dude, it's like, yeah, it's like getting rid of a bunch of this stuff. Apparently, page templates are a little bit buggy. Okay, there's an interesting idea from Daryl. I wouldn't use a task list unless you want a planner for each episode. Instead, you could use a progress tracker. Okay. What do you think about that, Andy?
I don't want a planner for every episode.
That's what I'm wondering about is like, yeah, do you want a planner for each episode? Because also after the show is over, remember we're going to like process the show, right?
Yeah.
So like there's going to be a lot more stuff to do after the show's over.
But I think that's siloed in its own location.
Yeah, it's not about show planning.
I think where that information currently lives makes sense because it lives alongside that information as we're working on that information post show. So we
Mhm.
might have high level visibility into that in the location where we're working on it, but I think that
Mhm.
information needs to stay where we're working on it. And this conversation will make sense when we pivot over to that other part here in just a few minutes.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I guess then instead of, which I need to like undo a lot of this stuff that I did because I kind of messed up. So let's go version history. And is this the one that I want? Nope. Let's go back a little bit further. Version history, that was like earlier on, like 157. Let's do that one. Because I just deleted like all that stuff. There we go. There's my stuff back. So so instead of a to-do list, because that's going to be, like you said, that's going to be in Planner. So let's not do that, right? Let's delete that. And instead, you want to do a progress tracker, you think? Blockers, start date, end date. Or you can do a Kanban also. So like slash Kanban board. Kind of like the Kanban view. When we're going to do it, what stage it's in. There could be a sub checklist. What do you think? You want to do Kanban?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's do that one. So let's get rid of the progress tracker. Delete that. Let's get this Kanban going here. And I want to kind of put that down underneath the to do. Yeah, so there's that. I'm going to insert it in a little bit. And that way, then what we can have is under the to-do list, we've got title, description, add a card for what was it, thumbnail, and then schedule and restream, and then LinkedIn posts, right? And then that way, yeah, you could have like sub lists of, like draft the posts, schedule in Buffer, right? Because we use Buffer to kind of like do those on a schedule sometimes, add images, right? That could be another one of those things that we have to do whenever we're drafting posts, stuff like that. And then in the notes field, that could be like, here's the link to the thing once it's live as well. Okay. Yeah, then that way we can drag that over and kind of progress it through. And you can have it as a table as well if you want to just have like checklists. Okay. All right. So the thing that we didn't figure out quite yet is just that whole like what's wrong with the template thing. But I may just have to play with that offline because it seems like the template saving is not working quite right for me. So, oh, it looks like the collapsible sections aren't saving with the template. That could be, Daryl. I noticed yesterday that when I did the slash command, I had collapsible sections now, which I use the crap out of those with Notion. So maybe it's such a new feature that it's not saving in the template, that like XML of the template. So, okay, so we'll have to play with that later on. Maybe we can come up with a really nice looking template because we're going to lift all of this stuff over to the new tenant as well. Okay, so before we like just get stuck completely on only talking about Loop, you want to talk about the episode recap stuff?
Sure.
Because that's what started all of this. We want to create long form content like we do, where, hey, we're just hanging out now for the next 2 hours. We're just chit chatting, figuring stuff out. It's not scripted. You guys in the chat, you get to derail us all the time, which we encourage so that we can chase rabbits. But not everybody learns that way. Not everybody wants to watch that. So let's give people something that's a little bit more like bite-sized. Here's every once in a while we stumble upon a gem during our 2-hour session, and those gems are buried in like 60 hours of video. So let's pluck them out and let's have it be a 365 deep dive recap. So the issue we've been having with that is that's a lot of work, to be honest. To go through 2 hours of show and see if anything's worth saving out of it. So what we've done on one side is we plan our shows a little bit more now to have like discrete sections. And you noticed in the last 2 episodes where we had slides, that basically the slide was just like a title header, if you will. And that way, when we went to that section in the show notes, we brought that slide up on screen. And that speeds up the review process a lot, because then basically I was scrubbing through the recording to find where the slide changed. And I was grabbing that whole section where that slide was active and making that a video, and then editing that portion. But the thing that we've had is, like, say we've got a 2-hour episode and that turns into like 12 different videos, like short videos. And the idea is, YouTube is happy if you do some type of regularity with posting stuff. So we decided, like, if we could pluck out 12 clips out of a 2-hour show, that gives us 4 things to post, 1 per week, before the next show across 3 channels, mine, Andy's, and 365 Deep Dive. So that's kind of our goal, is like 12 videos. The thing is, when you start figuring out all of that and you work on like 12 videos at the same time, we started really being like, okay, Andy, are you working on this one, or am I working on this one? Who's doing what? We kind of want to have the same. Say what?
Who's chopping this month?
Mm-hmm. And we kind of want to have like the same feel, right? Like the same intro, the same outro, the same, kind of style of thumbnail, stuff like that. So we're looking to standardize that type of stuff. And Andy, do you want me to show what we've done the past 2 months?
Here,
and kind of
I'll drive through this section.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you go ahead and take over the screen. Let me pop you up. And yeah, why don't we look at what we've done thus far, so we can kind of pick apart what worked well and what hasn't worked well. See what we can do to kind of like get some status updates for each other.
So we'll start off in Teams.
Okay.
Teams is where we started the whole journey of like kind of bringing this together, but we were working in like separate teams. We experimented with like shared channels and whatnot, and it's just like, let's just get in the same place, same tenant, let's be licensed together from there. And then we started off, the first channel really was around working with past episodes. And inside of here, we're actually leveraging the files tab for the most part. We are using the post tab to communicate with one another, some statuses and around where we are to kind of keep things all together. But we're leveraging mainly the files inside of here so that we can organize each of our shows, past episodes. And then we can also do things like keep some of our reusable assets all together in one place. So as we look at this, we've got a template that's been set up, and the template has essentially 3 subfolders in it. We've got Restream, which we house the recordings, the master recordings that we pull down from Restream at the end of each and every episode. We've got an in progress folder that we're working with, and that just is a place for the videos that are currently being edited. And then we've got a completed folder. And that completed folder has 3 subfolders in it: John's channel, Andy's channel, and then 365 Deep Dive. And that's where the completed videos live before we actually go and publish them in those locations. We are taking advantage of the fact that we can do color-coded folders now. That just kind of gives a visual, some insight into where we are. But the template just makes it easy for us to go and based off of that, super simple, go in and we can do a copy to in the same library. And in this case, we could go ahead and drop in our May 2024 copy there. Now we're going to have that new folder already set up with all the subfolders underneath it.
Oh, we copied it as the word template.
Yeah. All right.
You were searching. Yeah.
I was sure I renamed that, but it gives us the ability to recreate that structure so we can keep the videos together. Now, I know there's some SharePointers out there and you're like, folders versus metadata. Don't worry, we're using metadata as well, but we needed the folders because of the way that the videos and the editing process is actually happening. The folders actually are part of that process, and you'll see that as I drill down into like a previous episode. So when we go in here for March of 2024 and we drill down, these are the video files that we're able to get out of Restream. We can get the whole stream, and then we can also get the isolated feeds out of there, depending on what we need. So John's able to download those, and we can drop them all in here. Now we got all the video assets that we need to do any kind of editing that we want. Bouncing back a level, we have in progress. So this shows us, depending on what we're using at the time for editing, the subfolders related to that. So like here, you drill down, and you're going to see what we're actually looking at. Mix is a project inside of ClipChamp. ClipChamp has the main project file that you're working with. Any media that you import into that project goes into the assets folder. And then it also has an export folder when you're ready to export that content, or if you're going to do a copy or move. So this is the reason we're leaning on the folder structure. It's because of the way that ClipChamp actually handles managing the project file and then the associated media that you want to use along with that. So putting this into a folder structure makes a whole lot of sense for us. So
Andy, can we roll back a little bit? Yeah. So go back. So basically step one is Restream. You have 2 weeks to download your recording before Restream deletes it. So we go and we download those recordings. The way that we get our clips itself, I tried using ClipChamp for that, and I've also done like Camtasia and stuff. The problem was when I was doing it in ClipChamp, it wasn't as friendly about like taking one project and then saving that clip as a new project and so on and so forth. So what I've done, can you open up and go to like the Restream website? What I found is easier for chopping up a show into multiple video files is on Restream itself. I download the video basically just to back it up, and then we'll all close our eyes while Andy logs in here. Just a second. But there is a video trimmer built into Restream. So what I found is that's really helpful. If you are one of these people who does live streaming like us and you use Restream, I think StreamYard has this as well, but you can chop up your video using that web video editor. And then I save those clips as standalone video files. Those come down and become the in progress folder.
Hold on one second.
Andy's going to bring that back on screen here in a second.
Even with password managers, logging in is still such a pain.
Yeah. So we'll show you what that trimming looks like real quick. So if he goes over here to like the video cloud storage area, like the cloud on the side, that's going to be the videos, right? So under recordings is our past shows. So click recordings at the top right there. And then these are the different shows that we've done. So like this one is me and my friend Tom. We did a show last week. So click the second one and click the dots. See, that's the one in progress right now. So you could do that, trim and save. and it's in beta right now. But what's awesome about this is I can scrub through until I see like that slide change. So like what's next? And then I can say, I can split that clip. So click the split button at the top of the timeline. And then I can scroll down a little bit further to the end of that slide. And then I can split it again. You know, so like, okay, that's like near the end of it. And then he can delete those two ends off of there. So like you select that, you hit the delete trash can. Same thing with the beginning. And then you hit save in the bottom corner. And it's like, well, what do you want to save it as? And then I would call it like, what's new? And like that nugget, that little section is a video. And that stores it into the video storage area of Restream. So then I downloaded all of them back to SharePoint, and I've got all my little clips ready to go. I have personally found that easier to use than ClipChamp. It's kind of like a temporary step. Then once I've got the standalone videos, I like to jump into ClipChamp. So let's go back to the video folder, if you don't mind, and let's go to in progress.
Actually, I'm going to jump back to
go
April.
to April. Yeah, because that's the one we did better. So see all these folders here? Those are ClipChamp folders. The files underneath there, the file itself is what came from Restream. That's the trimmed file. So the way I do this is go up a level, is like, all right, say that I'm going to work on one that's chain of thought prompting. So that first file right there in the middle. I open that up, so it opens up in Microsoft Stream. So just click open. Or yeah, you can right click and I hit edit in ClipChamp. So you can open in Stream, then click edit in ClipChamp, or you can right click and edit in ClipChamp. That creates a project folder for that video. So once it's in a project, now it's just a matter of, it's going to prepare the video. So it's going to like render the video so that it's on a timeline. And then all I've got to do is where it says open media. So like go back to the ClipChamp file if you could. While that's processing, click import media, the little arrow next to it, and hit OneDrive OneDrive. And then what we've done is on 365 Deep Dive on the side, past episodes, I've got, there's the intro and the outro. So I select both of those and hit select. Those are our bumpers. So like I've got a little like 10-second intro and a 10-second outro that's like, thanks for watching. And like, here's the 365 Deep Dive recap. So you're kind of bookending it, right? And that's how we're getting our sort of template of our recap is we've got the section in Restream. We pop the beginning and exit onto it. And then all I've got to do is just trim the middle part and then export it. So that's what Andy's doing right now, is he's adding in the beginning part of it.
Doesn't want to add it.
Oh, hit the little plus sign instead. Yeah, there you go. I don't know why it's not wanting to add it. It did it multiple times. We just, hit the little arrows and then you'll see 100% of the timeline. See, they're like really tiny. But yeah, so he's got like his intro. You could delete those two extras, drag the middle section to butt it up to it, go to the end of the clip so you can hit the over arrow to the end, and then add the outro at the timeline. And there you go. Now you've got that. I just add like crossfades between them.
Yep.
So that's our process for like actually editing the videos, is chop it up in Restream, add the intro and outro in ClipChamp, and then export to the completed folder. So like pretend that we cut this up. Now you're going to click the export button. And then you're going to change the SharePoint location because it says like exports. I like to pop that out and put it into the completed folder just so that all the videos are together. Yeah, so change the location. Then what I do is I go to like April 2024 at the top there. And then completed. And that's how I know like all the videos are together. And it's like, okay, these are John's videos. These are Andy's videos. and that will render out the video. Then I can download the video, pop it over to YouTube, and publish it. So I don't see a lot of questions in the chat anymore. I don't know if my chat's working or not.
Yeah. So just to bounce back over to here, the reason that we have the folders is because of the way that ClipChamp leverages the folder structure for each individual project. So you've got the project itself, you've got the exports folder if you choose to use it, and then any of the assets that you pull in are stored in the assets folder. So there's very much a folder structure there. As we were going through this and we were talking, I kept bringing up, I really like the way that lists work with conditional formatting. It'd be great to have some conditional formatting inside of our document library so that we knew where we were in the progress or in the process of each one of these. And we thought about doing it with folders, and they're like, no, let's actually leverage columns for that. So we created a status column and then a channel column, and that allows us to go in and go ahead and tag this so we can see like where we are at any point. This one's not started, these are completed, and then this tells us where it was actually published. So at a glance,
the destination,
where we are along with this. But we can also take advantage of some of the other views if we need. If we want to switch over into a tile-based format, we're able to do that. If we want to keep it in a list format, but maybe we just want to filter and see like what have we done for John's channel, it makes it super easy for us to go and do that. And take advantage of the conditional formatting here. But that's why we have a mix of folders and why we have a mix of metadata. That's also why Teams/SharePoint are pretty integral to this part of the workflow, because we need a place to store video files. We need a place to store the media. And ClipChamp has done a really good job of integrating between OneDrive, Teams, and SharePoint so that we can quickly open up a project, pull previous assets from the library that's already there without having to spend a whole lot of time bouncing back and forth to find it, and then we can stay in the flow of ClipChamp.
And Daryl has a good point. Like, because ClipChamp is a cloud app, you typically, before this, I've done Camtasia, and the problem is with Camtasia, if you like sync it up, then he's got to like sync down the project file and all that. Because this is all web-based, I can go create all the project files and have them like in progress, like marked status. But then later on, Andy can open up that project file and he can like start doing this trimming and all of that type of stuff and export it out if he wants to. So we can work not at the exact same time, but we can pick up where the other one left off, which is really good. The thing is, I feel like we've got a good process for cutting the videos, adding the intro and outro on, exporting it. The only thing that would be better about that process, I think, would be if ClipChamp could have a template for us so that it's like when I like open with ClipChamp with this template, I could just like drag the file onto it and I wouldn't have to re-import the intro and outro. The problem I'm having is I think on the front end of this, it's not the working with the videos themselves. I think ClipChamp's doing a great job of that. The problem I'm having is going from a 2-hour video to what are we going to pull out of it? What channels is it going to go to and all of that type of information? Because until we have the files, doing it in OneDrive doesn't really work for us. So in the past, what I did was I just like made a Word document and I just had like, here's like a list of the highlights I want with like timestamps on them, to say like, here we go, let's do that. But we talked about doing it instead as like either a planner board. So like each clip is a planner or yeah, there it is. So like there's the clips, like, all right, here's what I want to chop up. Here's the timestamps. But there's not like Andy can't look at this and say, well, John is like done with 3 of these, he doesn't know the status. He has to go somewhere else to see what the status is. Like, did John download the clip yet? Did he make a ClipChamp project yet? He has no idea without like hunting through a bunch of folders. So I'm curious what you think, Andy, and what the community thinks for, should we create a planner board for the episode and then each video is a card, or should we create a Microsoft list for the episode, or a master Microsoft list, and then do it like, as each item on the list is a video with a status? So what do
Thinking
you
out
think,
loud,
Andy?
nothing against Planner. I actually prefer Microsoft List for this part of the process for a couple of
Okay.
reasons. The list can live alongside the other content inside of here and minimize the context switching. And here's what I actually mean by that. So like if I open
That's
this
true. With
in
Planner,
SharePoint,
you would have to put like a shortcut to the Planner board in that folder.
right.
But with
And
the
I've got
list,
a
like
few
you can
other
just store it
reasons
with
as
it.
well. But like
Okay.
we go in here to the SharePoint site that backs up this team on the back end. We've already got things like, here's the past episodes, April 2024. Like we've already got some of this information in here. We can create lists that live alongside that in the same
Okay.
site. One of the things that lists are really good at, and I don't think enough people actually take advantage of it, are lookup columns. That allows us to connect the library and some of the fields that we're using there with the list, whether it's an episode list or a master list, however we want to do it. It allows us to connect those two and to have information that brings the two together. I really like that feature. I also really like all the updates that the team responsible for Microsoft Lists have done. I've done a deep dive, a solo deep dive. We've done a deep dive on it. The video that I did for that, like it's 2 years later, it's still like just continues to like get reviews off the chart because the information in there is still pertinent today, and it just speaks to the work that the team responsible for this has actually done. I think lists are more customizable. There's some things that we're going to want to do that we're not going to be able to do in Planner because you can't customize a Planner
Yeah, we
card.
can't automatically pull those attributes from the SharePoint file on the back end of
but
it.
you're going to have to go through Power Automate in order to do some of that, and that's more work that I think we want to
But with
put
lists,
into
we
it.
could just do it. And List has a board view too. So if I want to visually see where the status is, I
Group
could
by
just have a
column,
different
group by
view.
board. Yep. Yeah. So there's a number of different ways that we're going to be able to leverage this to list, calendar, gallery, or board. We're going to get
I
all
like
of
the
that
calendar view too, because
date and
like we
time
talked
for it.
about, this is kind of going to turn into an editorial calendar. And part of the challenge is we want to make sure we're not publishing a video on the same day, right? So with that calendar view of the master list of recaps for the episode, we would be able to see like what's coming up when.
There's a few other things that I think work really well. Daniel actually brings one up in the chat. Working offline, there are times when I might be touching this data in a place where I don't have the best internet connection, like an airplane, for instance. Being able to work offline and have access to some of the list information, I think is really, really nice. We can take advantage of list not only here inside of the corresponding SharePoint site that we're in, but if we need to, we can tab that into the this is the Word document. We can tab this into the channel that we're working in, so it can sit side by side. And I think that's really great as well. So we can bring it into Teams as part of a workspace. So like, for example, I'll grab this one. I just mocked up a content scheduler, grabbed it from a template, and there it is. And now it's side by side, and we can work right inside of here if we need. Now, another thing I think is kind of cool, kind of helpful is the side-by-side view. I think Edge does a really good job of this. So like, let's say I'm working on one of these videos, I can go through here. In Edge, I can go ahead and drop in the split screen view. And then like, if I have that Microsoft list up, then I can do editing over here, whatever view I need side by side here. Technically, you can do that with Planner, but I just wanted to show that because that's actually something that's been helpful for me.
I never used the split screen. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's built right in the
I
edge.
just
It's
always like,
pretty neat.
maneuver windows and line them up. That actually, I've never
Yeah.
like had a need for split screen, but that makes a lot of sense.
But like,
Um,
I think the biggest thing though that I really like is the ability to create that connection between the two lists through lookup columns. And that way
okay.
we don't have to repeat data entry. We can reuse data that we've already entered. Now I have one more super selfish reason why I want to use lists for some of this part of the process.
Hmm.
And that ties into something that I geek out about. And that's Power Automate. With
Yeah, because we could automatically publish when you change the status of the episode. We could publish back to Teams to let the other person know, hey, I'm done with this one, and we don't have to like manually communicate that to each other. I mean, I think Planner has Power Automate uh, triggers as well,
Well,
but not
it
as much as
does,
like an
but
item on a
not
SharePoint
quite
list.
at the level that we might want to do a few things. And there's some nuances. I use it for my day job, and there's a few things that require some workarounds in order to get done. But one of the other things that I would want to use that list for is
Hmm.
publishing our content automatically. We mentioned earlier that we use Buffer for some of that. Power Automate does have a Twitter connector that we could take advantage of, and we could post out like some content from there. And there's some automation that we can pull from the list here that we're not going to have the same level of control if we were to use Planner for some of that,
Yeah.
especially around
So
like different column types.
one question I have, would you prefer to do a list that is a master list for the whole 365 deep dive, or would you rather create a list for each month's episode and then have
I
the
would want to
recaps
do
in that?
one list for a time period and then a new list for the next time period for the episodes within that time period. So we would have a list for maybe 2024 and then start fresh with moving into the new year, just so
Okay.
that it doesn't run too long. I mean, it's easy enough to create a view where you filter a group by that, but then that's
Uh-huh.
just another field that we have to add to
Okay.
that.
So
And
why don't we do that then? Just because, why don't we say like we've got a 2024 list, and then we add a column to the list that's the month, right? So you got, this is a recap object. It is in the February episode. It's in progress. Here's the link to the raw recording. Here's a link to the ClipChamp project. Here's the destination, John, Andy, or 365 Deep Dives channel. Is that what we're thinking?
yeah, I think so.
Okay. You want to make that real quick?
Sure.
Just do it live. We'll do it live.
Nothing like doing it live. I'm going to do it the long way to get it where we want it. I'm going to
Okay.
start from Microsoft 365 Home. I'm going to go into my app launcher and let's head over to List, Microsoft List. Now, for those of you in the know, SharePoint List or Microsoft List or SharePoint List, but it's just been kind of promoted in the app launcher, and it brings some additional features with it. Daniel mentioned something in the chat window just a moment ago, works in offline mode. That's what this guy is right here. The List desktop app. The List desktop app, if you install that, it'll actually bring that into your taskbar. Down, you can't see mine. Let me hide that. You can bring it down into the task or your taskbar down here, and you can quickly get back to that list and other lists, and you can work with it locally. And if you've
Actually,
ever ran
everything
into
we've
the list
talked
view
about,
threshold, this gets around that.
dude, everything we've talked about, it can be a PWA or in a standalone app.
Yeah. Yep.
You've got Loop, that could be that's an app that we can run. Microsoft Teams, obviously. ClipChamp can be installed as a web app. Microsoft Lists, even OneDrive is like the little like Office PWA,
Mhm.
for like our SharePoint. All these
Oh,
things could be little
OneDrive
apps.
has its own PWA.
Yeah, that's true. Separate from the Office, the
Yeah.
M365
Yep.
PWA. But dang, yeah, like all of those could be standalone apps, so you could have them, as their own window without the whole browser.
All
Because
right.
I get lost in tabs a
Yeah.
lot of times.
You get lost in tabs.
Yeah, Yeah, you're insane.
That's one
This,
window.
this is the digital equivalent of like your cables versus my cables on my desk.
Your inbox versus my inbox.
Right.
All right. We'll create this one from blank. What are we going to name this?
2024 episodes or something.
All right. Color. We'll go with the green, and I'm gonna throw a calendar icon on that.
Okay.
Now, right now it's set up for my list, but I'm going to switch that over. We're going to put that in 365 Deep Dive. That's going to put it in the Microsoft team and the corresponding SharePoint site, and then we'll go ahead and we'll show that in the navigation, and we'll create it. All right, so right away, we're in the Microsoft List interface, but this is actually stored in that 365 Deep Dive team. All right, so we get the title field. I think we're going to go ahead and repurpose that. We'll use that for the title of the video
the
we're working
recap.
with. Yep.
Yeah.
You wanted to do a month column?
I think so, because it's going to be like, what's the episode? And our episodes correspond to months. So, yeah.
And I'm just going to do
Jan,
3-letter
Feb.
abbreviations.
And I like that because also, like, you might change the name from month to episode, because maybe we'll do 2 episodes in 1 month for some reason. You know, we could have like the name of the episode or whatever if we did something like that.
Done.
Okay. And this is just so we can filter, which is nice.
Yep.
Okay. And then we want to have a link to the raw video, right? So like have it be like raw clip or something.
Do we want to do that as a lookup?
Yeah, probably, because we want it to be a link to the video where it's at.
That's where it's going to get. We're going to have to put some thought into that because we're linking to.
It's the past episodes folder within documents because it's a channel in Teams.
Yeah. So drilling down into a subfolder underneath there, we didn't think that through.
Yeah. What about, so you want to just open up a notepad real quick or a text edit? Let's list out what we would want as columns or whatever.
Notepad.
So we've got the title of the recap. We've got the episode that it was in. Should we have like the timestamp within the episode? So like I know how to get to it, right? Then the video itself, the raw video clip would be one. The ClipChamp project file. The edited clip, right? So the link to the exported out clip, the destination channel destination. Like, is it my channel, your channel, or the shared channel? And status, right? Not started, in progress, done, or whatever. And then we could always add crap more like what's the YouTube link? What's the, you know, all that type of stuff. Is there anything you can think of that you would add?
No, I think that's got it.
Okay. All right. So what types are these? The title is going to be, you know, the unique identifier, obviously. The episode's going to be a picker, a choice column. The timestamp is going to probably just be like short text. It's like single line of text, right? Because we could just do like number, colon, number, colon, number, because it's going to be like hour, minute, seconds. The link to the video clip is going to be a link, right? And it would be nice if it could be a lookup column. So that's a hyperlink. The project file is also a hyperlink or lookup. So then, yeah, the next two are hyperlinks. Channel destination is going to be a choice column, right? Because it's going to be either mine, yours, or shared. Status is going to be a choice. YouTube link is going to be a hyperlink. And that one wouldn't be able to be a lookup because it's like an external website. Yeah. That's a good one. Daniel said, what about adding tags? So like tags for like categories. I'm a huge fan. Ever since I started using Notion, I'm a huge fan of tagging things now instead of doing like folders within folders. I like to tag the crap out of stuff to just be like, you know what? I'm just going to slap a bunch of keywords on it. So maybe we'd add, we just do a tag column as well, just to have it be the open-ended way that we can filter.
What column type do you want for that? Choice?
Yeah, choice, but like you can add, manually add unique ones. Okay. All right. So all of these are easy if they're hyperlinked. They're hard if they're lookups. Okay. So you've got the month one. That's already got a choice. The timestamp. So let's do a short.
Or do we need to rename that the episode?
This is my clip. I like to tag the crap out of stuff. What was that you said?
Are we repurposing the month column that we've already created, or are we adding an additional episode column?
Oh, yeah. Just call that one episode. Yeah. Let's not recreate it. Let's just rename it.
Oh, we're going to break SharePoint. We're renaming a column after we created it.
On an empty list.
All right.
The timestamp is just short text. Yeah. I mean, you could get fancy. You could do like a hyperlink to the timestamp in the YouTube video, but I'm going to get it from Restream, not from YouTube, because YouTube compresses it like crazy. Restream has like the nice crisp 1080p, higher bit rate. You want to do, the link to the video file?
Yeah, I'm just exploring, because if we do it as the lookup,
or you want to skip those ones and move on to like the channel destination choice, get the easy ones out of the way.
It's just interesting though that it's not pulling some of the, like, there were two primary fields. There was a status field and then a channel field,
a destination field.
And it's not pulling either one of those as an option for the lookup here on this interface. So just curious. So we'll do it as a hyperlink for now.
Do you think that's because like I added those at like inside of a folder and not like at the document library
possibly
level?
Yeah. And this is our link to video clip.
Yeah, the raw clip. The link to the project file. So we'll call this like ClipChamp project and have it be a hyperlink. Then you want to call the next one like exported clip or something, or finished clip.
Gotcha.
Something like that. It's like one's the before, one's the after.
We'll call it finished.
Yeah, finished clip. Okay. Destination channel. Or just channel if you want it to be that way. And then you could have it be like 365 deep dive, Andy, John. Yeah. Okay. Status, which is a choice. What statuses do you think we should have? Like not started, Probably just not started, in progress, and done would be fine, right? To start out, we could always add more statuses later.
Not started, completed, in progress.
Okay. YouTube link, which is going to be a hyperlink, and then tags.
Tags choice.
Mm-hmm.
What are our default values to start off with?
Let's do like Copilot, Teams, Loop, ClipChamp, SharePoint, Stream. Just like a couple. And we'll do like can add manually.
And are we going to allow the selection of...
I think we should allow multiple, yeah. Because it's 2-hour live stream.
All right.
Cool. So we've got those. Now you want to lift this, right, and go put it into our past episodes Teams channel as a tab. And then do we want to create like a board view now as well? There we go. Okay.
Why did it do that?
That's weird. Refresh it maybe.
Here we go. So I was telling it to expand. There it goes.
We go. It was like a weird cache thing. It like went back. So we do a new view, board view. I'll just call it board, I guess. And then we want to organize the board by yeah. That'll drive me so crazy. Then yeah, we want to organize it by status, I guess, right?
It's not letting me pick anything.
Weird. It's because we don't have anything in it yet. Do like I don't know. Yeah, that's fine. Or chain of thought prompting is like one of our episodes from last time.
I'm just going to throw in some dummy data.
Okay. Okay, so we've got an item.
There we
go. Okay.
Status.
Yeah, let's do it by status for now. And then I guess we would want to call it status, and then we could have one that's like by channel or something later on. I think status is the obvious one to start with, though. And then we probably want to have a calendar view too, just for giggles. Probably do like a month view.
We need date and time fields.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we didn't add those to the default.
Oh.
So we'll fix that.
Yeah, so that would be published date, right? That'd be date time, and we'll call it like publishing date or something. Yeah. Don't care about a time.
All right, so I guess
need to add you probably don't need to add a thing to it. And we don't want to make that required yet because like I'll be working on them, but I don't know when they're going to get scheduled yet until we kind of get organized with how many we have. So calendar view.
That'll work.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, is there any options we want to do? Okay, so you can have like the do the channel. So like, this one is going to John's, this one's going to Andy's. That's a great idea. And we might be able to kind of get creative too with like scheduling as well, or conditional formatting rather. That's interesting. Yeah, I selected 2 a month.
There we go.
Beautiful.
And then I'm just going to go back here and update this demo one that we're working on.
Yeah, to do like sometime in June, so it shows it.
What?
I want to let you pick. Just do like 6/12, 2024.
Anything that can break in the demo.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, we're still in May technically.
There it is.
Okay, awesome. And is that the same color as your channel, where it was like that light blue or whatever? It is. No. Yeah,
No.
it is. Okay. Is there formatting, format current view? Go back. Show all values as. So I guess, yeah, we could edit that to have like the column. So it would be the channel is Andy. Make it this color, make it that color.
Won't let me choose anything.
Weird. Okay, maybe we'll have to play with that later.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
Okay.
I want to see one thing though. Let me go here real quick. So moving out of teams, color's different over here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so weird that it's just like grayed out for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Whatever.
Fun stuff. Well, we could always go into advanced mode, use Copilot and some JSON.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we're not doing, like a ton of publishing stuff. So it's not the end of the world. It's gonna be like 1 per day. So it's not super critical.
Yep, there
Okay,
we
yeah,
go.
so we have
got
our board
status,
view.
got our calendar view, and then we got just the default all items view.
I like that. And it's embedded in Teams. It's stored with the SharePoint site that's already behind the team.
Mm-hmm. And we can get to it from the list app if we need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And soon, hopefully, fingers crossed, when Copilot and SharePoint comes out, we might be able to, in the future be like, show me all the episodes that were published to Andy's channel, like in natural language, and then, be able to have like a nice simple list to like go do like MVP contributions from.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we've only got a few minutes left scheduled
Mhm.
time. I know a lot of you have hung out for a really long time as we've kind of meandered our way through this, but we said this was going to be a very meta episode as we were thinking out loud and kind of working through some of our thoughts here. But I guess to kind of recap just a little bit, we're definitely going to be using Loop as part of our process because it's a great way for us to get ideas out, to quickly share those ideas, to collaborate on those ideas. And it's a flexible workspace for that ideation. And some of the things that we've done in Notion, Loop makes the most sense to bring that over. Loop can also allow us to bring some of that information over into Microsoft Teams. But as you've seen, like Teams is still going to be a core part of what we do, because we need kind of the communication and the file management inside of a channel to be able to collaborate on the video files, because we are trying to use ClipChamp and stream video as much as we can as part of this process, so that we stay knowledgeable on it, but we can also share those learnings with everyone else. And based off of the way that ClipChamp handles media, it's very folder centric, document library centric. It makes sense to leverage the files tab and the corresponding document library in SharePoint on the back end of Teams to manage those video files. And then in my opinion, bringing in lists gives us some more flexibility to kind of see holistically where we are throughout our working process of editing our videos, because it lives side by side with the library that our team's built around, and the other files that are there. I think hopefully we'll figure out the linking thing between the library that we're working with and the list that we're working with, and get that kind of under wraps. But if you really think about it, like, we can essentially streamline a lot of this down into one central place, a Microsoft team, a couple of channels. We can bring loop into those channels. We can bring the list into the channels. We've already got the document library there. We're able to work with the apps, and we really don't have to leave Teams to do that. So kind of thinking back to something that Jeff Teeper said a few years ago, Microsoft really envisions Teams as the gateway to Microsoft 365. And I think kind of looking at that, it makes a lot of sense with the workflow that we're looking at to kind of streamline a lot of what we're doing.
Yeah. So like I kind of gone through, like, to recap this episode, look back a little bit where we've been. We've kind of rationalized some of our like comms channels and how we talk to each other and how we work together. We're really bullish on Loop workspaces right now, so that's good. The M365 tenant, I marked that as yellow because like that's still kind of a to do for me. Is like, we've been doing this all in collab more. We need to move it over to like our own area, and then a preview of the future for us as we look to build out this thing called 365 Deep Dive. Andy mentioned at the very beginning that we've got Jolly Roger Java. That's kind of our Contoso, if you will, like the fake company. And we like using that, like the theoretical scenarios that are real world business challenges and how they're overcome with M365. Doing that in the format of the coffee shop. I think we're going to do that for sure. So what we're looking to do is in the M365 Deep Dive in my tenant that I go request, we're going to add Jolly Roger Java as a domain and then have it like sectioned off, so that we're going to have like the fake accounts at jollyrogerjava.com with their own like fake teams and stuff like that. So that's a little bit look in the future, is we want to do some of those deep dives on, let's put on our hat as you're a brand new company. You're just getting started. How do you add a domain? How do you set up users? How do you set up your meeting policies? That type of stuff, because we got to build this for Megan and Alex and all the employees of Jolly Roger Java. Why don't we build that out in some future episodes so it could almost turn into a guide of sorts for, how do you start from the ground up with M365 and kind of build out the things that everybody talks about, like stuff that's like already sliding into an existing 365 environment, but we're going to have to kind of start from scratch. So we'd like to start with you guys. And that's a little bit of preview of what we want to do in the future.
That's not a spoiler. That's a prediction.
Yeah. So that's a lot of, we've gone to a lot of places today. But it's a little bit of a throwback to, the very first episodes we've done where it's like, hey, let's talk about this thing. It's almost like a state of the show for us, because this will be our next to last episode on all of our separate channels. So we're going to do June. We're going to do the normal channels that we've done. Then starting in July, we're going to go to the consolidated channels and try to get, that single chat for YouTube, single chat for LinkedIn. And at least we're only splitting it one time, not 4 or 5 times. Next month, we're looking to do a Copilot readiness deep dive with our friends Daryl and Alistair to talk about like what do organizations need to think about as far as like their knowledge architecture, their adoption planning, stuff like that when they are entering into the foray with Copilot. Andy and I, we've been doing Copilot for our organizations. Mine is going to add thousands of people in the next couple weeks here, so we're getting ready to grow up to the next level. The other 2 guys, they have done a ton of advising other customers on their deployment for Copilot specifically, but also just adoption planning and knowledge architecture and security and things for years and years and years. So it'll be a great experts panel with them. Then July, we're looking to probably do a deep dive on Prompt Buddy and the Copilot Power App that has kind of made a big splash since we talked about our prompt library ideas. I have deployed Prompt Buddy at EY now. So we're going to kind of look at that and hopefully get the creators on so that we can chat with them and kind of build together and talk about some of the stuff that's beyond the install as far as customizing it and getting the most out of Prompt Buddy. So with that, I don't think there's anything else really to add. But
there's one thing.
Thanks for watching from Switzerland, man. Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
You got a new tagline.
Yeah,
I like to tag the crap out of stuff. We're gonna get you some stickers.
Yeah, I need that. I do, man. I tag everything now.
Yeah, this one was fun. Hopefully you learned something new. I know I learned a few things. We're going to have to get Daryl back in here to talk more about some Loop stuff. There's a few things that we're still kind of learning and working through. We'll have to get our master sensei in here to teach us a little bit more. But
yeah,
stick around. I think the June episode is going to be a really important episode, Copilot readiness. I know I get a ton of questions around that. Shameless plug. I posted a link earlier in the chat. I did a webinar for ShareGate. Go and check it out. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to be in Seattle next week. So if anybody is attending TechCon 365 or you're in the Seattle area, stop by, say hi, ping me. Let's hang out. I'll be there all week. Looking forward to that. And I think conference season wise, we won't see anybody else until the end of summer. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well,
awesome, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will see you in the next 365 Deep Dive.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.